I mean, look, the good news is I'm ready to start my comedy stand-up tour. I'm really just here to do a bunch of good one-liner zingers. I hope you guys are ready.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Sips and Clips. My name is Michael Schusterman.
And I am Leanne McFalls.
And today we have our lovely, amazing, fabulous, might I say sexy guest.
Hey guys, my name is Haruka Gerald. I'm an assistant editor based in LA.
See that, ladies and gentlemen? You can't tell just because it's voice, but everybody is swooning in this room right now. Yeah, I'm so glad you finally could come on, Haruka.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I've really been enjoying the last few episodes and excited to be on this one.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it.
Leanne is the hero today. She did bring all of our sipping products.
Sponsored.
I decided to finally contribute to this podcast.
Finally
contribute to this podcast. Well, why don't we go out? We'll have Haruka explain what he's sipping on today.
Yeah.
Also, I did get, as Michael said, I got everyone some coffee, but I will say that I got it from Phil's Coffee, which is a delicious coffee spot, but
Please sponsor us.
It is a delicious coffee spot. They famously do not serve espresso drinks, so I think Leanne purposefully went there so that I could not have an almond latte. I think she was like, I have to find the one coffee shop in Los Angeles where you literally cannot get an almond latte.
Yes, but then you essentially sort of got an almond latte.
You're not wrong.
Look, you can't be put down like that. But also, let's just say thank you, Phil's, for
sponsoring this episode.
Oh, if you guys want to sponsor this episode, please let me know. My email is
Phil's Coffee has it. If you have a blank in your marketing budget for introverted post-production weirdos, let us know. We've got the market for you.
Yeah, but point being that the name of our coffees might sound a little interesting. They're not going to be the normal black coffee almond lattes, but Haruka will have you start off.
Yeah. I'm drinking a large mint mojito with oat milk. It's iced, very delicious.
How do you feel being from Texas and coming here and drinking that? Do you feel like you're now like you've been completely Californianized by the fact that you're drinking a large mint mojito with creamy oat milk and no sugar?
I mean, yeah, obviously.
That is
made with love by
California
Hattie.
thing.
It says on it.
Thank you, Hattie.
That is like the most California
It's about as California
thing.
as you get. Is there a part of you that's like, you're rearing to get, you're
back.
Like, you need to get in a saddle and go like lasso a cow or something.
I mean, like, I just need a red eye coffee and I'm good to go.
Oh, and you're good to go.
Do you know what that is?
That's espresso and black coffee.
Yeah, basically.
Michael, what are you sipping on?
I am sipping on a large dancing water with medium almond milk, medium Splenda, made with love by Matt.
Aw.
Yeah, lovely.
Matt's out there loving you.
What does love taste like?
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Come on, I'm giving you the layup. Dunk it.
I usually do a dancing water.
Yeah, a dancing water.
So they're pretty good.
That's what I used to get in high school because there was a Phil's. Like Phil's is really big in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
Leanne, what are you sipping on?
I decided to try their fall flavor because it's fall. So I'm like, why not, y'all?
Is it pumpkin? flavor?
No, it is a small spiced vanilla soul with creamy spiced vanilla oat milk, sweet sugar, made with love by Matt.
Wow, Matt.
Wow,
Shout out to Matt.
I'm the special one. Hattie made
You
my
got
coffee.
Hattie out there.
Yeah.
So Haruka, we like to start with every one of our guests just talking about give us the quick synopsis of your life. How'd you got here? How are you, sitting in this chair today? Basically what are the major plot points into getting you where you are today in your starting editorial?
And also what got you interested in general
In film.
to get into the industry?
Yeah. So I wanted to be an editor since the third grade. I'd always had a really big interest in like computers and storytelling. Like my family's a big family of storytellers. And honestly, I was fortunate enough to be raised with like a computer in the house. I know that makes me sound like I'm ancient to all the children out there. I promise I was born in the 90s. But basically I was watching on TBS, True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when you were in third grade?
Yeah. And I was like, I saw basically I just saw the title of like editor, film editor. And I was like, asked my dad and I was like, what does that person do? My dad was like, oh, they like cut together the movie. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I think that's what I want to do. And then I've just been doing that ever since. So I started from there and I've like just really worked to be a editor and went to like, I was able to go to a a magnet school that actually had a film program. I wasn't a magnet kid, but I got all the benefits still. Shout out McCallum High School in Austin, Texas. They had a whole cinematic arts magnet program.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had like a lot of state-of-the-art equipment. They had like a whole like cage full of equipment, like Avids, sound recording booth, ADR booth. Like,
wow,
it was like stocked up.
That's awesome.
So you just started doing that, and you were like, it confirmed a suspicion that you were like, I'm interested in this, and you just started doing it. And
I was I was so excited when I found out I could go to school there. I was like, let's do it. Like I said, like I've been wanting to do that. Like I've been making like YouTube videos since I was like 10. You know, like I was just like, I want to make movies, frankly. So I went to high school and graduated, and I was like, all right, where do I go to film school? And I was like, I could go to Chapman, but I don't have the grades.
Growing up in Austin, did Linklater, Rooster Teeth, or what's the other one? Troublemaker? Like, did any of...
Was I involved in any of that?
Well, I imagine as a high schooler, it would be hard to be involved with any of that. But like, were any of those inspirations like those local filmmakers?
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest Texan filmmaker inspiration, probably one of my favorite filmmakers, is Linklater, Richard Linklater. Yeah, and like it's funny because Austin is not that big of a city, or at least wasn't when I was growing up. I like ran into like his daughter, who's in the movie, like went to my high school. Trying to figure out where to go to college. I really wanted to find a program because I was like, I could go to just trade school, but I really wanted to get like a liberal arts degree in case the film thing didn't work out. So I went to Hofstra University out in Hempstead, New York.
Quite a distance.
Yeah.
From Austin.
Yeah. No, literally halfway across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to get somewhere. I wanted to go out of state.
Was your original plan to come to LA, or
No.
were you going to go to New York?
Oh, I was like, basically, I thought I could just stay in New York and make it as an editor.
Yeah, that'd be my initial thought if I was going to school out on the East Coast.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, there's like film here, like it's, you know, such a great history. And basically up until the pandemic, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay here in New York. So I went to school and graduated and took all the film classes that I possibly, or the editing classes and post-production classes I possibly could. So I graduated during the pandemic in 2020, and essentially everything gets shut down in March. And I'm like, what's going to happen? You know, like, what am I going to do? And I found the ACE internship program, which check out episode 2 with Grant. The ACE internship program, basically, I knew about it. I actually saw a post by Irene Chun on the Blue Collar Post Collective Facebook page. Join that, everybody.
So you see an ACE intern post while you're sitting in a dorm room during the pandemic, or an apartment.
I'm sitting in my like off apartment house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew about the ACE internship program because I had like found ACE. I entered the editing competition, which if you're a student, you should absolutely do. And I saw this and I was like, all right, I'm going to apply for this when I graduate. Like, let's just do it. So, you know, I see the post. I'm like, oh, right, I should probably like look into this again. So I actually reached out to Irene and like chatted with her before like the applications opened. I reached out to Amelia Allwarden as well, because I found that she was an intern back in like 2018, I think. 2016, 2018, an even year. And I just like reached out to them, talked to them, and I was like, hey, like, tell me about this program. You were both interns. Like, what was that experience like? And they're both really great. They're like, yeah, you should absolutely apply for it. And also one piece of information I asked.
This is all remote.
This is all remote. This is all over Zoom. They're both out here in LA, and I was out in Hempstead. They basically both gave me the advice of, if you want to be working in big budget features, the place to be is not New York, it is LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, crap. Yeah, like I was like very invested in staying in New York. Like I wasn't looking at apartments or anything yet, but I was like, yeah, like I'm probably going to be here. But I'd really take a look at my life and be like, all right, well,
if I'm pursuing this is the place where I got to pursue it.
Exactly. So pandemic happens.
So you apply for the ACE internship.
Apply for the ACE internship during the pandemic, and it was all online that year. It was still really great. Basically, they had a bunch of panels with a bunch of different editors and assistant editors kind of talking about themselves, their journeys, the things that they work on.
Not to say that you're not a brilliant, unbelievably successful assistant, but I think it's important to clarify, you didn't get the ACE internship. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the end of the world. It was like something we talked about with Grant, where it's like, I mean, Grant got it, which is this amazing thing. But I mean, I think one of the first piece of advice I give to anybody that applies for this internship is, it's like, I'll tell you, you're not going to get it. That's not what matters. What matters is what you do after you don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this for sure. Please put this in. The ACE internship program is absolutely the reason I'm in Los Angeles today.
Yeah.
Period.
Even without having done it.
Without having done it, without even being able to do it in person, I was like, this is the reason I'm here.
Yep.
It's the reason I was able to come out from Austin to LA during the pandemic. I like would not have been here. My original plan was to come out like June of 2021, but that got accelerated when I got a PA job.
And you got that because?
I got that because two people I met with, Amelia, who I mentioned earlier, and Shelby Hall, both were speakers during the ACE internship program, and I reached out to both of them just to chat. And they're both like, hey, like, let me get your resume. And I was like, cool, yeah, awesome. And they gave my resume to Esther Sokolow, who is an amazing editor.
And our guest for next episode.
Oh, that's awesome. Wonderful, amazing, incredible human being. Hey, any major studio, please hire her for your next feature. She is amazing.
But Esther kind of took notice of you during the ACE intern panels. And if I'm mistaken, hired you to be her PA.
Yeah. I don't know if she like noticed me during the panels. I think she just got my resume from.
Oh, afterwards.
From the Amelia and Shelby. And basically she interviewed me remotely while I was living in Austin. She was out here in LA, and she was amazing because she had the foresight to be like, I have time to hire a PA. I'm going to reach out and look around to see like who I want. And like, if there's somebody who like deserves the opportunity to come out to Los Angeles who isn't already here, she wants to give that person the opportunity.
This is a tremendously rare thing.
Oh, so rare.
I literally, you told me this years ago, and I was like, I, to this day, have never met anybody else with that same story. Like, most times PAs are hired, like, I've seen PAs not get hired because they were going to move to LA 2 weeks before a job starts. And it's like, they're not here. Yeah. They're not here long enough to like get established before we bring them on. And I'm like, which I think is,
or just like not even interview people who don't live in LA. Like if I see a resume from someone that's from New York or something, I mean, it's usually in most cases just not even
it's kind of a no question.
So that's amazing that Esther did that.
Yeah. I mean, she's very forward thinking and very much like trying to build a community, trying to build the crop of young upcoming editors and assistant editors. So I get hired as a PA by Esther, and she was like, hey, like, we did the interview process. I really like you. I want you to be my PA. If you can make it out to LA by April 5th, you can have the job. Yeah. And I was like, you got it. I reached out to my network of people, and I was just like, hey, like, do you have an apartment? Like, do you know anybody who like needs an apartment? I got an apartment, took my car out here, and just like started from there. So I became the PA on The Flash.
The Warner Brothers movie, not the TV show.
Correct. The movie, not the TV show. Everybody who I talked to is like, oh, I love the TV show. And I tell them it's the movie.
The movie.
I totally skipped over this part. I was a assistant editor in reality TV for 6 months in Austin. So I worked at Blind Nil, which is the production company that runs a bunch of stuff for Magnolia, which is Chip and Joanna Gaines' production company. So I started there as a PA, knew I needed to get in the union, actually. So I was like, please promote me to an assistant editor. Just like give me 8 hours a day, pay me California minimum wage, and like I'll be happy. And they were like, yeah, no problem. They knew I wanted to come out to LA. My boss, Chad Cohen, when I was interviewing with him, he was like, where do you want to go in like a year? And I was like, LA. And he's like, great. So I had some union days coming out here. And
you didn't have the 100.
I did not have 100. I had 55 days. I counted in my little notebook every day. I took the risk being like, well, do I want all my union days or do I want to come out and PA? And I was like, I want to PA on a Warner Brothers movie. Like, let's just do that. But I took that risk, came out here and was PAing. And Esther and Jason Ballantyne, our editor, both approached me like a few months into the process. Like, hey, like, we know you're really excited about assistant editing. And like, we really want to help you move up in your career. And like, we see like you're eager and you're like working really hard. And like, we appreciate the work you've been doing. So we're going to try to make you an apprentice editor. And I had no idea. I mean, I had an inkling of what that was, but knew at the time that I was like, I don't know if I qualify for this. But, and I think you guys have talked about this before. Basically, I was able to get into the union without having all the necessary requirements, but that required a lot of work from my team, from Warner Brothers Legal, and the union.
Same thing with me. So
I became an apprentice editor right the day before we were supposed to go on strike, which we didn't.
The IATSE strike.
Yeah, in 2021. This is 2021. Yeah. I became an apprentice editor. That was amazing. I was an apprentice editor for about another year after that. Finished that up. I hopped onto a Lionsgate feature where I met Leanne.
Hello.
I met Leanne and we worked together for a few months. And I was there until, I don't know, like a few months later. I was on there for less than a year. Then the WGA and SAG strikes happened, which then promptly unemployed us to where I then became the first assistant editor on an indie feature with the editor Doc Krotzer called Miss You Love You, which should be, it's an amazing movie. Whenever it comes out, check it out. And so I was there as the first for a little while, and that was an amazing experience. Really learned a lot there. And then finally now I'm working on a Warner Brothers feature as a second assistant, working at the same team that I worked on with Flash and the Lionsgate feature.
Amazing.
Awesome.
I'm sorry that took like 20 minutes, guys.
No,
and I know it's going to be like 5.
But I think the thing that we need to talk about is one of the reasons we wanted to have Haruka on today was specifically Leanne and I were talking about networking. We wanted to do an episode on networking and kind of what that entails. And I think we kind of agreed that we think like Haruka is kind of the king of networking in a way, in part because of this editor meetup that you run. So you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be?
So essentially in 2022, I was an apprentice editor and I was a member of the MPEG's committee for
the Apprenticeship Growth Committee.
Thank you. Yeah. I was a member of the Apprenticeship and Growth Committee at MPEG for the union. And because I was excited to be a union member, and I was just like, let's keep this program going. Let's get a bunch of eager people to join the union. So in that, I actually was able to get the list of the 16 new apprentice editors at the time. And I just like had their names and emails. And I was like, I'm new in LA, new to this industry, new to this job. I've just trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm sure these other people are trying to as well. And I'm like a big community builder. I've done like a bunch of stuff in like high school, college, just like love having community built around me and the community that helps support other people more than just myself. And so I was like, I'm gonna reach out to these 16 people and start a meetup of apprentice editors. And I knew I wanted to expand it to the greater community of people who were basically like pretty new in their career, new to LA, but like
eager.
Yeah, eager. And like I moved here with like, I have like a couple of family friends here, but like no other like close friends, no other like even like real acquaintance friends. So I was just like, yeah, like let's like start something. Like I'm sure a lot of these people are moving here too, brand new. Maybe they went to college, whatever. But LA's a big, scary place. Like how do you make a community that makes that place seem a lot smaller?
And that's where Leanne and I met.
Yep, Michael and I met there.
Yeah,
and so did I met Zach there. There's a lot of people that I feel like that I'm friends with now because of this.
Meetup. Yeah, it's become a real. I mean, it's funny to say, but it's a networking event, but it's also like, it's where people regularly now focus on like, oh, I know I'm going to socialize with my friends on this date, at this meetup, bi-weekly. So,
and this is how, it's also a good way to be like, oh, I can check up with them as opposed to trying to like schedule a coffee or schedule lunch, which is great to do as well. But it's nice to know like, oh, there's this event that happens that if I go, I might see them and then we can catch up.
Yeah. It's been cool because you mentioned BCPC, Blue Collar Post Collective, and a lot of these other editing meetups or, editing organizations, even like something like ACE or MPEG or anything like, there's all of these, organizations in Hollywood specifically geared towards editorial, which are great. I think what I've appreciated a lot about yours is that emphasis on that, because it's like a young person's, people who are just starting out kind of deal. It ends up that like you can pull your guard down a lot more. You don't have to always be so like aware of,
Yeah, like who's like watching me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can
and
just
like
be
there
yourself,
are like,
and you can complain about stuff, and you can be like, this isn't working for me on this show. I'm struggling with this thing. How do you guys deal with it? And there's not this weird pressure to be like, oh, well, I'm like admitting weakness, right? Because it's a bunch of people who are like, no, I've been there. I've had that burnout. I've had this technical problem. I've had that issue with that producer before. Let me tell you how I got through it.
Yeah, 100%. And like we meet like every 2 weeks, which I think is another really cool feature, is that like, a lot of these meetups are once a month, which is great, but also like, that's a long time
to go in between not seeing each other.
Yeah. And then if you don't go to one, it's like, then it's 2 months, and it's like, that's crazy. Like, I think the cool thing is that we meet every 2 weeks. So it really feels like, oh, I see you like pretty often if you keep coming back.
Do you think, let's say besides your meetup, do you think that networking events in general, are they useful?
I think networking events in general are useful. I think especially if you're starting out and you're trying to like meet other people and just kind of like build your network, like it's a really good way to do that. It is hard. I mean, like, I'm not even going to say that like my event is like the easiest thing to come to. Like you're coming to a group of people who are pretty like, seem like pretty tight knit. Or even at the networking events, like if you're new to LA or new to the industry and you're rolling up, you like just see people talking, it is like kind of daunting. And I think networking events are great because like that's an event where everybody is there to meet people, period. You shouldn't be worried about people not wanting to talk to you or like just like being there to meet their friends and stuff. Cause it's like, no, they're there to like network and get to know people. And like, even in like my group where it's like, I think a lot of people do like hang out with their friends, but it's like, if you're in my event and you're going to shun somebody who's just trying to like meet you and get to know you, like that's not cool.
Yeah, I feel like the event
And people know that.
historically has been pretty good about new people showing up and people are like, oh, you're new here. And then trying to integrate them into the conversation,
Yeah.
you know?
Because everybody was new at one point.
Yeah.
Nobody came in being like, you know, the head of anything.
And I feel like the people who go, like, you know, the three of us and, you know, some other names I could mention, you know, people who are consistent. I think we try to be pretty good about not being cliquey and being like, we recognize when there's a new face in the crowd and being like, oh, what's your name? What are you here for? Where'd you move from? Oh my gosh, you know, stuff like that.
Which is hard about other networking events too. So I think inherently, yeah, networking events are great. I think they can be hard environments to get to know people. And I think that, and I don't know if like this is a talking point today, but there's definitely some things that people do. You're just like, that kind of immediately turn you off from the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess can we transition to that? Cause
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think, you know, Lan and I, this was, I think, one of our earlier conversations before even we had the podcast was like, what is the kind of almost definition of networking? Because I think that was something I really struggled with when I moved here, was people would be like, well, this industry is all about networking. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? People say this term all the time, you know, you got to network, you know, your network is your business, we do all these kinds of things. And I really struggle with that, especially in like film school, just imagining what it was like to be like, so I'm supposed to go out there and then just like meet people, like how, and then like,
And you're like, how do you meet people?
but then how do you
Like,
meet people? And then how do you
you
come across as not trying to meet somebody just because they can give you a job? Like,
And
you
like,
get into this really weird game in this headspace about the concept of networking. So
and then like inherently, like I try to really be a big community builder, and like this is a space where people come to meet and hang out and like get to know people on a personal level. But like I understand that there is a layer to this, that people are trying to get work, trying to get jobs. Like that is the common thread, that we're all there together. But that doesn't have to be the focus, because I'm not going to work with anybody that I don't like. I think
Yeah. So I'll ask you two questions. So in your definition, what would you say is networking? Is one of the questions. And the second question, let's say we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of it. Like you're brand new to LA, you go to a networking event. How would you approach someone to then start a conversation? Or, you know, you like see someone, you're like, oh, they look kind of cool
or maybe
to talk
just in
to.
general, you move here. How do you start your network?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's networking and there's good networking. Networking, like a definition of it, is going and like meeting somebody and just trying to like build like a business connection, and like being able to be like, oh, like that person's just an editor. And I think networking and like networking events, it's like a personal level. Like you're like trying to get a job from somebody and you're like, hey, like you're an editor. Awesome. Like, do you need an assistant editor? Like that's networking. And that's not like a really fun way to do it. And like,
It's also not terribly successful.
no, it is actually.
Hey, you're an editor. I'm an assistant editor. Do you need an assistant editor? Like that.
And I will say too that
gonna
I
turn off
have
some people.
gotten emails or texts from people that either one, I don't know, or I've met them once, like a year ago, haven't spoken to them since. And they email me out of the blue and they're like, hey, like this is what I'm up to. I just finished up this job. Do you know of anything? And in my head, I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, I haven't talked to you.
I've received cold resumes in my email inbox before.
I've done that too.
and
Yeah,
been
I've gotten
like,
that. Not done that. I've gotten that.
I'm like, what?
like what?
We barely know each other.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of networking where you're just kind of like, oh, like, yeah, we did meet. And now you're like,
And now you're my contact.
and now you're my contact, but you're also like asking for something based on like a relationship that's built on just like,
I know who you
Platitudes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But good networking is relationship development.
Yeah. And that's, I think, like, I don't know if you'll agree with me. And I think one of the things Leanne and I want to talk about is like the difference between the three of us and how we all network and how we take that term and how, you know, we fit it into our lives. And I think one of the things you taught me pretty early on was this idea that I should not, I don't think you intentionally taught me this, but I think just watching you and, you know, you running your event and all the things was this idea that I think networking is a bad term. And when I talk to young people who are just starting, I'm like, don't think about it as networking. Think about it as community building. Think about it as making friends.
Yeah. Because that's what it should be.
Because like,
especially in this industry.
Yeah. And the jobs I've gotten, a lot of them come from I hate to say my context from my friends not being able to do something, or they need someone to fill in for them. And they're like, I can trust you based on our friendship. Can you come do this? At that level of intimacy goes a hell of a lot further professionally and personally than this concept of like having people exclusively because they do your same job.
Right.
The other thing that I want to add too, which Michael and I have talked about this before, if you think of it from the side of the person who is hiring or bringing you on to a project, it's also who they recommend is going to be a reflection on them as well. So if they're recommending someone who they don't really know that well, or might not be qualified in a way, regardless of if they're the friend or not,
they do a bad job.
Doesn't look good on them. So you, as the person who is trying to get the job, it's always helpful to like get to know the person, to be like, hey, I'm a good person. Show them that you're a hard worker. Show them that you can get stuff done, just to like have a good impression on them, as opposed to just being like, hey, I barely know you. Can you hire me? It's like, that's not going to go look well either way, on either side. It's not going to look good.
Been in situations before where I've put people up for jobs or recommended people for jobs, and then the person, the person who's hiring has come back to me, and in both cases been like, that person you hired was not great. We did not have a great time, or some issue, or they did really bad in an interview or something like that. And it's not to say that it looks poorly on me or the person who recommends, but there's this element of like, well, now the trust between you and this hiring person has been diminished. Yeah. Right? Where this person,
they're not going to come back to you for another recommendation.
They're not going to come back for your recommendations, and they may doubt your judgment overall on your ability to do stuff. Like it's silly, but it is a real thing of like, if I'm recommending somebody for it, like they're a surrogate for me, right? They're a surrogate for, my credibility.
You are a reflection of the people that are recommending you, and the people you're recommending are a reflection of you.
Yes. And then, it's also like, I hate, one of the things I grew to really detest really fast was this idea that people wanted to network with me, or that they thought I was networking with them just because I could get something out of them. And you just start to feel so icky about it. You just start to feel so like, fuck, this sucks. And like, I don't feel like I'm a real person here. And so kind of that transition in my head of like, well, networking is not to me about networking. It's about just finding the people that I enjoy. Who could I go watch
a movie with,
and we don't talk at all about work.
Well, it's the same last week when we had Jesse on, and he was like, I want to work with people that I get along with, that I can go and get a drink with. It's definitely a big help to not just to network in the way that Haruka was saying, of just the base of networking of like, oh yeah, I'm going to like meet people, then send them my resume, or tell them that I'm available. It's also like building a relationship.
Please don't
with these
ever
people.
Send your resume to somebody unless they ask for it. Nobody wants your resume unless they specifically ask for it. They will not keep track of it. They will not organize it, and it does not look good on you. Just as a general note to everybody.
It stays in their inbox. It does not leave their inbox. It does not go anywhere else. It just stays in their inbox.
Yes.
And now you just have a weird relationship with somebody where you're just like, hey, here's my resume. And I'm like, I look at this, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like somebody I hardly know? Like, would you do that?
Or they send it to you just because, and like, you're not hiring. You don't know of anybody. So you're like, it's going to sit in my inbox and then get buried by the other millions of emails that I get. And I'm going to forget about you because I don't really know you. So then to follow up, then the question of, if you were at a networking event, brand new, how would you go up and try to start like talking to people?
The easiest way is if you're brand new, what you got to do is you got to be really brave, and you do need to go up just to these groups of people and kind of like
introduce yourself and kind of just like listen. Don't just barge in and be like, hey, my name's Haruka. It's great to meet you. Like, just kind of like kindly and quietly, just kind of like go up to the group, see what they're talking about. If you think it's interesting, just kind of like hang out on the edge. It feels creepy. Like, don't stand like behind somebody. Like, don't breathe down your neck, please.
Game.
Yeah, please
Play
don't.
the hovering game.
Yeah, like just like insert yourself into the conversation like politely. Just like kind of like step in, and like people like at a networking event are generally going to introduce themselves to you. Like, they're going to be like, hey, like, what's your name? What do you do? And then you guys can like have that conversation there, because like that's an expectation in those kind of spaces.
Yeah. And maybe this is just for a specific thing, but be humble. If one of the biggest turnoffs that at least I find is somebody who I can, you can generally understand that this is somebody's nervous, it's their first time, but the moment somebody starts bragging to me about their laurels from film festivals they won in film school is the moment that I'm like,
My brain just turns off.
I'm like,
Nope.
I could not care. I couldn't care.
Yeah, I do make it a thing to not tell anybody that what I've worked on.
Yeah,
unless
same.
They specifically will ask me. But I've done that before too, where I've like kind of gone around the groups and kind of listened, and then like I might make a comment or a joke in reference to whatever they said or are talking about. And then sometimes I might make the joke of like, I just got here, or like, don't mind me, like I'm just jumping into this conversation. But
Yeah.
it kind of like breaks the ice in a way.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And there
I
are even
think
times where like, I mean, we're specifically talking about an assistant editor networking event, but there's times where I go to edit, I get invited to a networking event and it's all editors and I feel like the weirdo.
Fish out of water.
I'm the fish out of water where I'm like, they're like, oh, what have you cut? And I'm like, I've never cut anything.
Or at least anything
Like,
you would
yeah.
have heard of.
yeah, I've cut little tiny music videos.
Right.
Like, oh, you've cut a $50 million feature? That's cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like that, even for people like us who have been here for a little bit and doing it for a while, there are even times where we're fish out of water people.
Oh,
When
yeah.
we're with, the next upper echelon of the people in our career. It never goes away.
I host these networking events. When I go to other people's networking events, I am like, I cut in my own little introverted shell, and I'm just like, oh, what am I supposed to do? But if you're in that situation and you do know people there, like, go up to people that you know, just say hi, and like kind of just pop into the conversation. It's really not that. It's really easy. And I like have made plenty of intros to people just to be like, hey, like ask your friends to make an introduction for you if they know somebody. Like if you, and I'll say
Yeah,
that
that's
with a
specific that you
caveat.
wanna meet too.
With a caveat. If it's somebody that you like, let's say it's like Joe Walker, ACE. If you have talked to somebody who you've met once and like have had barely a conversation with, and you're asking them to introduce yourself to the editor so you can get a job, don't do that.
yeah,
Like that is bad. And people will do that. Do not do that. But if you're like friends with somebody, Michael's worked with like Hank Corwin, and I'd be like, hey, like I really want to meet Hank. Would you mind introducing me?
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about specifically the differences between how we each network.
Well, I mean, I think where I am currently, at least for me in my career, I feel like my general strategy is just this, like, I don't ever chase a lead. Like if someone's like, oh, you should talk to this person, and I cold email them or an editor or something, like reach out. I'm like, hey, I'd love to get coffee, and reach out. Like I always operate on the assumption, at least now in my career, that like if I meet with somebody and we're not gonna be friends, like there's this, we're just chit chatting, and I realize that we're I'm not gonna be able to develop a friendship with this person, then I say, okay, I'm gonna let this person go as opposed to trying to finagle them into my quote unquote network. So I think that's the way, at least that I operate these days, is it's like, I'm not really looking for network connections. I'm looking for friends, and I'm always open to new friends. And if we're not going to be friends, and that's okay. Like I'm going to move on here. But I regularly try to make it a point now to be like, even if there's somebody who I think is really cool, really interesting, and is in doing something cool in their job, I'm not going to try and chase them down just because I want a job. I'm trying to find people that I just
Want a
can have a
relationship
beer
with.
with, and and have a relationship with.
What about when you were starting out? Did you do
Absolutely not. I was hungry as shit.
So you were trying to also meet up with as many people as you could, kind of thing.
When I first started, I was just very hungry. It cold emailed a million people all the time, asked to get lunches all the time. And then, I think one of the things that really helped me was a conversation I had a million years ago with an editing professor who was like, you need to stop thinking of this as this like big abstract concept, the industry and networking, and think of it as a game. And what are the rules to the game, and how do you play the game, right? What are the correct moves? What are the incorrect moves? Learn what those are, and then operate under that framework. So a lot of my like early networking meetings, like I met with Shelby as well, and I met with Esther. I took both of those as opportunities. Not that I didn't want to get to know Shelby and Esther and like have a network, but I had the opportunity to talk to these two fabulous assistant editors, soon to be editors at the time, now both editors. And for both of them, I was like, what are the rules? Like that was, I had a list of questions that I came to them with, and I'm like, what is being a good PA? What is being a bad PA? How do you get a PA job? How do you not get fired from getting a PA job? How do you get your days? How do you register your days with the roster? Like I came into those meetings, I think, being like, these people have information that I need. I'm going to extract that information from them. And I think for both of them, I'm now still good friends with Shelby and Esther. And I think one of the things that warmed me up to both of them was the fact that I came into that networking not being like, hey, tell me about your time in the industry and what is it like coming up with creative solutions to difficult problems. I was like, how do you be a PA? I'm going to write it down on this list.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how do you decide when you're interviewing PAs who to hire and who not to hire, right? Like I was asking very targeted questions, which I don't know if I would recommend to everybody, but like, that's how I...
how you did it.
That's how I needed to think about it. I needed to think about it as like, this is such a big abstract thing to me that I don't understand it, that I need concrete rules to live by. I think that doesn't work as much later on.
No, I mean, because at that point, it just feels like you don't know what you're doing. Exactly. Like if I ask an editor, like, how do you edit? Like, they're not going to.
How do you become an editor?
Right.
And yeah, that kind of like, how do you become a first? How do you become a second? Like those
Right.
rules start to go away, and it starts to become a lot more like, are you trustworthy? And that's not a thing that has concrete rules around, right? Like to become a second, to become a first, someone needs to trust you. Powerful people need to trust you. That's like a much more abstract concept than getting the PA gig.
And what about you, Haruka? Well, you did it through Esther.
Yeah,
and
I got out here because of Esther, Shelby, and Amelia. But I'd say like, I would say I did the complete opposite of what Michael was doing. not in like a bad way. Like I think what Michael did was a great idea. Like I would be thrilled to talk to somebody about like what makes a good PA if you're just starting out.
Yeah.
You know, like that's fine with me. Like,
if you ask me to coffee as a PA and you show up with a notebook full of questions, I have yet to see anybody who has done that.
Yeah. Which is, you know, bring a notebook.
Bring a
Whatever, take
notebook.
notes.
Also, every PA trying to get break-in, bring a notebook to every meeting you ever go to.
Yeah.
Even if you don't write anything in it, it looks really impressive if you have a pen and a notebook open on your desk.
But yeah, so
go ahead.
I was just, I went in, like, I think as anybody does, like, I like would look up the person and just be like, hey, what have they worked on? You know, what do they do? Like, how do they get here? I'm very much just like, I'm very interested in people's like stories and people's journeys and how like they got to where they are.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause there's no clear path on where to get like A to B. Like you are just jumping.
But what I'll say about your guys' approach is I think your guys' approach comes off more honest maybe than the way that I was doing it. Right. Not to say that I wasn't dishonest. I wasn't trying to be dishonest, but like when I was coming in and asking those questions, like I was breaking down what is this community of like people into like fundamental rules, which like, you know, luckily Esther and Shelby, I was, you know, they were endearing towards me. So, you know, they understood what I was, you know, trying to get at. But I think for a lot of other people, and they both went to Chapman and I was a Chapman alum, but I think like other people may have viewed that as like icky.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll say like to what I said earlier, I think it'd be great if someone did that, but also like,
You have to be careful about that.
Yeah. Like don't just like try to get to know me, try to get to know my
Don't view me as
journey.
a bullet point list.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a similar thing. Well, because last week we talked about the Temple internship program.
Yeah.
Because the people that came to classes to speak to us, we'd have a chance to talk to them and like get their contact information. But because I had to go back to Philly, I would try and stay in touch with them. So what I did, and probably still kind of do now, just like keep track of it, but I would have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet.
We talked about this a million years ago. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it
I still
actually
think this is a great idea. Yeah.
I had a spreadsheet of the list of names of the people I wanted to keep in contact with, and then I would have a column that said sent, and then a column that said received.
Yeah, I have one of those too.
Yeah, so I would send them an email like while I was in college once a month, and then I would put down the date that I sent them an email, and then put down the date that I received the email from them. And so then I could kind of look at it and be like, okay, I sent an email to this person. They did not respond my last 3 emails. I'll just take them off my list and stop trying. And so that's kind of how I kept in contact with people. And then when I got out here, I would do what Haruka said, be like, hey, I'm out here now in LA. Would you like to get coffee? Would you like to get a drink? Would you like to get lunch? I just want to talk about the industry. And then we'd get lunch, and then I'd talk to them about their start, they're, what they're doing, and then sprinkle in some of the questions that Michael may have asked.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an assistant. Like, what do you think?
This spreadsheet
as an
concept,
assistant?
I have recommended to many people as like.
Oh, you have?
I
yeah.
have. Well, because I've met with a lot of PAs and they're like, how do I network? And I'm like, okay, I've got this friend and she had this spreadsheet. This sounds psychopathic when you break it down, but it actually totally makes sense of like, because you're like, you don't want to, I don't mean psychopathic in the sense of like, I think you're a psychopath, but it's just that
That's
like.
basically what you're saying. You're saying I'm a psychopath. I see.
Breaking network down to a spreadsheet. But I think it totally makes sense. I think the more like you told me about that and the more that I'm like, fuck, that's so smart because like you forget who you've reached out to, who you've
if you're
talked
doing like
to.
hundreds of emails.
And if you keep it all
Also,
organized,
and you
then
forget the people.
you
like-
forget the people all the time.
I
All
put
the
notes,
time.
Like I have it on a Notion database. I
Yeah.
have each person's name, when we met, like little notes about them,
Mm-hmm.
and like it does sound like it sounds like freaking you or Dexter, where you're just
Yeah, yeah.
like you're like, and they have 3 children,
Yep.
and it's like no, like I like. If you're meeting so many people
so
en
smart.
masse,
'Cause then
you're
you
just
can-
starting out.
You can show up 4 months later to a coffee and be like, so how's Chelsea doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, do you remember my daughter's name? Like this crazy shit where
Well,
you're just
that's
like,
the other
you know,
thing is that when I go to do a follow-up, not a follow-up, but like if I go to email them again, I'll revert back to an email that they sent me
Yeah.
from before and then quickly read it. And it's like, oh, last time I spoke with them, they were on this project. And then I
Yep.
can ask them, how's
How's
this
that?
project going? And those are the things that help you become memorable to people because you're
it's
remembering,
also just
but
a nice thing to
also
do. Like,
nice
it's-
thing to do.
It's
Yeah.
nice to be able to be like, hey, like this person, like I'm fine if you take notes that like I went to Japan in May and you ask me how that trip was.
Yeah.
Because like at least you put the effort in to try to remember.
Yeah.
It's not because you're just trying to like document my life.
Right.
Yeah.
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 And it's like, and I want to know how was your trip to Japan?
It was
How
great.
was
I think I got engaged.
Yeah, Haruka
You're engaged?
got
I don't have my ring on.
engaged.
but
Was there? No, I guess, yeah.
Shout out to my fiance Bailey.
Also the real architect behind the meetups.
Oh God, yeah. I would not be able to do this meetup without my wonderful fiance. She sends out every single newsletter. Make sure that they're sent out.
The
Helps
nicest
me.
looking emails
The nicest
I ever
looking
received.
newsletter.
Very nice looking.
Yeah, but yeah, I think too. Just to like talk about like, can we like talk about like bad networking again really quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Guys, if you ever come up to me and say, hey, my name's Michael Schusterman, I'm a assistant editor and I'm looking for work, I'm immediately turned off by this conversation. I do not want to engage with you at a networking event if you just tell me what you're looking for like that, because that's not like, personally, that is not what I am there for.
100%. It's also just like, I don't know about you, but I've only been doing this job now full time professionally for 5 years that I can say. And I already know more people than I know what to do with.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's not to be like disparaging people who are first arriving here, but like if there's a job opening, I know 10 people off the top of my head that I trust to recommend for that job before any random new person I've met. 10 people that I have a consistent history of being able to do stuff, are talented at what they do. I trust them to do it. I know they're not going to embarrass me. Like,
I'm actually coming to the point where I'm like, because I want to be a first. I've had people like, oh, like who would you pick as your second if you would? And I'm like, I don't know. I know so many people now that I don't know who I would pick.
Spoiled
You
for
know?
choice.
Yeah.
You're literally spoiled for choice.
There's this underlying idea that like, yeah, I know we're all looking for work and trying to work with each other.
Yes.
I know that's what you want. But what I want is to know that I'm not going to hate hanging out with you for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hire
I'm
my
looking
friends.
for somebody who's like competent, because we'll have like these conversations are bound to come up and we're going to have these technical conversations. We're going to talk about it. And I want to be like, oh, like Leanne like knows what she's talking about. What she does, by the way, hire her to be a first assistant editor or an editor. She's edited like 2 films now.
Yes, 2 films.
She just edited
Yeah.
like 2 films, which is crazy.
But it's not also just being like someone's technically competent. There's lots of people who are technically competent that
But also just a terrible person.
are terrible people that I can't stand. Like you know, every cutting room is kind of a fucked up little family.
But yeah, I think like that's just like a really bad way to network and like just trying to like be like, oh yeah, like I'm here for this job. I know you're here for this job. That's not what I want to know. If anybody who listens to this podcast episode hears my voice and tries to hit me up and just say, hey, I want to get some coffee first, I get some coffee, I'm honestly going to probably say no.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to meet you, but also just like that is you have to understand, like, The Future's a really good YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to learn about like some networking stuff, graphic design based YouTube channel. But like, I need to know that like my investment of time in you is going to be worth it for both of us at this point. Because like, I'm not trying to say that I'm like this like all great like assistant editor or anything, but like I'm a person. Like I only get 2 days a week if I'm lucky to like free and like you're asking me to dedicate some of my free time to be here with you, and like I'm happy to do it for like a lot of people, but like please show me like
You're committed.
Yeah.
Like tell me like, you know, like I just want like half an hour to get coffee to like talk to you about your experience or something like that. But
Or
like
sometimes what I appreciate is if someone reaches out, I've had this happen where someone's like, I got your info from so-and-so. I'm considering doing professional editorial as a career. I don't know yet. Like, I want to meet you and talk about it. Like, if you, and what I mean by that is like setting the expectation for the conversation about what you specifically want to talk about, allowing me to decide whether or not that's worth my time. Something like that, I'm happy to, because it's not like a conversation like that. It's like someone being like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this for the rest of my life. What's been your experience? Like, that's something where I'm like, I'm happy to talk to you about whether or not, you know, it takes 30 minutes of my time, but it's going to be a 12-year commitment of yours.
yeah.
Right.
To me, it's like, okay, sure, I'll do that. But somebody who's like, you're right, is maybe more of like I can tell they're just networking with me to try and get a job. They've already decided to do it. That's almost like a different kind of feeling, right? Like, oh, am I looking for a PA right now? If I'm not, then that's going to be harder for me to want to take that conversation.
The amount of people that have emailed me who maybe they're from my college, maybe they did get my name from someone, which is fine. I have no issues, unlike Haruka over here. I have no issues going to like grab coffee and talk with you. But the amount of people that I do that and then never hear from again
Right.
is like
It's-
I've already forgotten about you. So it's
Yeah.
not just getting the coffee, but it's maintaining that relationship.
And I'm curious if you both agree with this. A bit of networking advice I got a long time ago that I also think is good is if you're cold emailing something or you're reaching out to somebody, find people who have worked on stuff you genuinely like. Like if there's a project or a movie or a TV show that you genuinely like, start there, like with those people, because editors never get compliments ever. Nobody ever acknowledges outside of editorial, like what people do. So there are editors that will respond to you in a cold email because you compliment their work on some movie that they did. Nothing recent. If you do something recent, they're
It's always like if it's an obscure movie,
do something from
always,
8, 9, 10 years ago that somebody cut and be like, wow, I love this movie that you cut in 2014. It's my favorite film of all time. I really love this. I'd love to talk to you. I'm interested in editorial. I'd love to talk to you about this. Talk to the first of that film, the second on that film, the freaking PA on that film, right? Like that's where you can strike up a unique, interesting conversation where, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm Travis and I'm trying to move to Los Angeles to be an assistant editor. Can I talk to you? Versus like, I loved, The Flash, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 years from now, if someone's like, I love the Flash. You were the apprentice on The Flash. Can I buy you a drink and pick your brain? Like, that's kind of endearing to an extent that like, hey, I got your info from so-and-so. I heard you're a really great up and coming assistant editor. Would you mind talking to me about the industry? Like,
Wow. I would totally take that up.
right? Like, I'm just saying, I think
also,
there's a difference.
Don't ever insult the movie that the person's worked on.
Oh my God.
Guys, working on The Flash, so many people have come up to me and is like, oh man, sorry about that. And I'm like, look, I know it didn't do well in the box office, but you also don't know what my opinion of the movie is.
Yeah.
Like, I personally loved working on The Flash. I loved my team. I love the movie. Like, it's a fun time. And to know that people will come up to me or you're talking about in conversation and you're trying to get to know me and you're like, oh yeah, I didn't like it that much. Straight up had somebody who was like, hey, I watched this movie and I did not like it. I'm like, hey man, go fuck yourself.
The biggest turnoff, and this could be nothing to do with anything that I have worked on, but the biggest turnoff for me is when I'm talking with someone and they're like, oh man, that movie just like it sucked. Like the editing was bad, the director like it flopped at the like all that stuff. It's like you don't know
what
if
happened.
I know someone who was on it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't know that I worked on it or didn't work on it. You don't know if I have a connection with it. You have no idea. So for you to come and just like start bashing a film
Or a person.
or a person
Oh my
also.
God. I've had somebody bash like somebody I knew because they didn't know I like knew them.
Oh my,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Immediately
happened too.
just turned off by it. Like,
Yeah.
You just have
like
to
you don't
like
know who people know. It's such a small
Exactly.
industry.
Yeah. It's a general rule of thumb at a networking event or at anything. You can always talk about how great something is. unless you're with somebody and you know every professional network that they already have, like, don't say you don't like something. Or if you're going to say, like, I also think, like, I've had great conversations at your networking event about movies that I didn't like before, but like,
just
I don't
gauge the
really
water.
care for your
Check the
like
temp.
letterboxed review. I want to like, if you don't like something, but you've got an interesting take on why you don't like it, like, that's fine. Like, you talk about The Flash. Oh my God, the amount of people come to me and be like, I worked on Don't Look Up. And they're like, ooh, that movie was terrible. And I'm like, thanks. Okay.
Yeah. That was 3 years of my life, by the way.
Sorry.
Yeah. I
But
think
it's like, there's
be
always
aware.
something good, even in movies that you don't like. Like, if you, for one, you don't need to say that you don't like it. For one, that's like a general rule of thumb. Nobody cares.
the only times that I will give my half liked or didn't like opinion is if someone personally asks me.
If someone's asking
if someone's
me for
like,
it.
oh yeah, I worked on The Flash, right? And then Haruka personally was like, what did you think of it? And I would probably give, like, if I actually didn't like it, I would have been like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Or I might say, like, it wasn't my cup of tea, but like,
I see why a
other
lot of people enjoyed it. Yeah.
enjoy it, and that's fine. I also never really try to bash movies. I always try to be like, even if I didn't like it, I'm like, someone out there is going to like it.
Really hard on
and they
us.
worked really hard on
They
it.
gave
like,
up hours of their life away from their
the
families to do
amount-
this.
Yeah,
Like,
the
these are-
amount of work that goes
And
into
unless,
these things.
and you're right. I'm more honest. I'm like honestly more honest with my friends who have worked on their stuff if they've asked me for it. But it's
Yeah.
generally because they're asking me because they're working on something else or they want my honest feedback about how they can help make better movies in the future.
Like, we have conversations like this because we're friends, not because like we've met a couple of times.
And also, if it's their premiere or the movie has just come out, even if you don't like it and they're your friend, shut the fuck up. Don't say anything. Give it a year. Give it 1 calendar year.
Guys, I
Or
have 3
you
more
can, like,
months on the creator.
Everyone can tell me.
That's the other thing is that if someone comes up to you, you know if it did good or bad.
Yeah.
You don't need
I'm not
someone to
stupid.
tell you,
Yeah, I can
oh,
see
it
box
sucked.
office mojo too, right? Like, yeah. Give us your prescription to somebody who's starting out
Prescription?
learning. Yeah, like they're starting out networking or they're trying to figure out like what would you tell them is a good, like, do these things.
One thing that you should really do with networking, and it's like really important, reach out to people. Just do soft touches. I have not done this, and like, this is on me, but I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give after you've met somebody, well, I mean, first time you've met them, send them an email, send them a message and say, thank you for your time. It was great to meet you. It was great to talk to you. Like, I really enjoyed our conversation. I feel so happy to know that somebody came back away from that, like, having enjoyed it. And like that was just a good time. Yeah. And then just do soft reach outs every once in a while. Like Leanne was saying, like, somebody came to you like years later. It's like, hey, like, do you have work? Like, I'm not going to respond well to that email, but I will respond well to somebody who's been like, hey, like, hope you're doing well. I just want to reach out. I'm like, I live in LA now and I'm working, which is great. Like, the best time to find a job is when you have a job, but also, like, don't just reach out to people when you need work. Like,
No.
like that is not a
There's
like
lots of fun
symbiotic
things you can do
relationship.
if you have a conversation about something. You know, like if you and I were meeting for the first time and we were talking about you growing up in Austin or something, and I might see, if I see some article about Austin or some interesting thing, I'll forward it to you and be like, hey, did you know about this new thing that's opening up in Austin? Isn't that cool? Like, just be a person.
Yeah.
Don't be a networking robot. Be a human being.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I will tell, like, oh, email them, and they're always like, well, what do you say? Well, what do you say in an email? Like, nothing's going on. And I always say, like, how are you doing? Like, hope things are going well. If there's like a project that they were working on before, mention that project. And then just tell them what, like, school, like, I would be at school and I'd just be like, hey, working on a senior thesis project.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well. Hope to talk to you soon. Like, they don't need to know that I'm working on a scene, but I'm telling them that I'm like still trying to be involved in film.
Yeah.
And I'm still
It
at
does
it.
2 things. It does, like, it develops your relationship a little bit more because they're like, oh, cool. I'm glad that, like, they're doing well and stuff like that. But it also keeps you top of mind, which is like, yeah, networking is your network. But like, I knew Michael needed, like, so like I hired Michael to be my replacement on a film that we both worked on. And I knew Michael needed a job. So he was on the top of my mind. And I was like, let's get Michael this job because, like, it's a great opportunity for him. But like, if Michael and I like weren't friends, or, like didn't like talk that much, like he could just not be even in contention. Like it is such a big part of this as well. It's just like, and it's a lot of work. Like networking is not just like,
Yeah.
oh, bing,
It's like
bang,
a second
boom.
job.
Yeah. But a lot of it is like,
But also even on like something like that show that you got me on, like you had a relationship with the editor and you were like, I really like this guy. I don't want to bring on somebody that's going to like make him uncomfortable or make, do anything. Like you had a pretty personal relationship with Doc.
Yeah.
That I think even in that case, like networking comes into it of like, well, I have to leave to go do this other opportunity. So I need to find a person who I know is going to
as good, if not better.
be able to be personable with this person that I find really important in my life. Right. So I feel like that's where like hiring the friend aspect would come into it of like, you and I have spent a lot of time together just personally as friends that you're like, I know what Michael's like as a person. And I think his personality would get along with Doc. But if you had a different editor that maybe you were like, I don't know if Michael would get along with his editor that well, right? Like that's going to reflect badly on you or anything like that, right? It's just like, or I might not have a good time. You'd be like, Michael's really not going to enjoy coming out of this. Like that's where like networking just becomes about like, these are my friends and my friends need these things. And then, what does my editor need? What does
the show need?
What does the show need? Right? Like, and who do I know that would fit that hole?
And then that's why you think of the people on the top of your mind, the resumes you have, because you're just like, oh, like who do I know? I've sent resumes off because I'm like, oh, I just talked to this person last week and I know they're looking for a job and they're great first or whatever.
Especially for PAs.
Especially for PAs.
Especially
PAs. Oh my gosh, guys, like I have so many PA resumes.
Yeah,
like,
I have a lot of
You
PA
really
resumes.
need to like, not to like, it is huge that you like, please keep in contact because like, I want to remember you, but like, there's also just so many people in the day to day that like, it is hard to also like, if I don't know you're working or you're not working, I'm just going to like, I don't know what to assume.
This is the relationship dating part of our podcast.
The dating
We
game.
love to hear about people's relationships.
We love to
and
hear
how they
about-
can keep relationships both personal,
Romantic.
professional, romantic, platonic.
You alluded to earlier, but you just got engaged.
I just got engaged 6 months ago. 5 months ago. I got engaged 5 months ago.
Was it 5 months ago?
May.
4 months ago?
4 months.
4 months. Getting married next May, which is crazy. Planning a wedding is insane, especially with working.
So give us the broad overview of like you're in this unique position in that like I think two things I'm curious about is in editorial as just like when did you know that you were ready to propose or how did you and Bailey come to that decision and does that relate to your job at all or your career at all? Did that have any impact on it? And then I think also we talk often about dating people that are in the industry and out of the industry. Bailey's kind of funky because she's kind of got a foot in both worlds almost a little bit at times. But I'll just say for the sake of argument, Bailey being a graphic designer, let's say she's out of the industry.
Right. Well, she does not actively work in film.
Yes.
And now she's actually leaving graphic design, but that's a whole thing. Yeah.
I'm more just curious about like, how does your relationship fit in with your professional world? How do those things commingle and intermingle, and do they? And how do you balance those things? How do you make sure that you have a successful engagement and a successful relationship along with doing your job and making sure that those things never come into conflict? Or when they do come into conflict, what do you do?
The conversation, I think from the get-go, I think it was easier when Bailey and I started dating.
Yeah.
I came to LA and I like started working and I was like, okay, like I just gotten out of like a relationship. I'm like, I'm just going to focus on work and like become really successful. And then a little bit later, I got into a relationship.
You fell in love.
I fell in love.
What a simp.
Yeah, real simp. I knew this girl for a long time. But when we first started dating, I was like pretty like clear. I was like, I really value my career. And I had to be very like upfront about it because like I don't want her to feel like at the time I would probably go, if somebody was like, hey, like I need you to work a Saturday, I would probably have texted Bailey at the time and be like, hey, I can't go on a date this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending that, by the way. I think you just need to make sure to keep communicating with your partner because if you don't, like, that's how you lose these relationships. That's how these like editors end up in divorces because like they are just not coming home to their family. Now, I would say like Bailey and I will talk about this like a lot. We talk about like, because like this show I'm working on now, because I've been very fortunate, it is the most amount of hours that I've been working on a show.
Yeah.
I work like 9 to 8 every day, pretty much. That's been an adjustment. Like, it has not been a fun adjustment for either of us. I'm very grateful to be working, very grateful to be on this show, but also like I get home like 8:39.
Yeah.
And like my fiance is like, I just ate dinner and like, I like want to spend time with you. And then you also have to like do this other stuff to be like a person. And it's like, how do you balance all of that? And it's really tough. I still don't really know how like the best way to adjust it besides just like having the conversations with her and being like, hey, like, I'm sorry that I work this much.
Yeah.
It is not my ideal. And like, I also recognize that like there are going to be ebbs and flows in the work day and the work balance. When we get further into post, there'll be days that I leave at 5 and it's great. And then that'll be awesome. But like, how do you like balance that in the long term is like being very clear and very open in communication and saying like my personal philosophy is like, I know I have to work and I'm really sorry, but I'm going to make sure that like I'm advocating for myself to be like setting boundaries and like, hey, like, can I go home? Which I also am not very good at asking for that, but like just being aware that I should be aware of like the time that I'm spending at work versus like spending at home. Like if I don't need to be there and like it's very apparent and like I have a good relationship with my team to ask that, like I will. And like I'm very grateful that I have a team that I can like go to bed, my first assistant editor, and be like, hey, like, is it cool if I leave? And I haven't had to do that because he's been very mindful of my time, which is also another great benefit. But it's like it's a hard thing to navigate, and you really have to hope that the person you're dating is going to be okay with you being gone for like hours at a time. And sometimes they're not, and that's hard on your relationship. But I think you also just need to make sure to express that, to set that expectation ahead of time. Like sometimes you're just going to be working long hours. Sometimes you go home at midnight. If you go on location,
Sometimes you work on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah, and then you just work like 11 days straight, and you don't even see the 12 days straight, and you don't even see the person you like share a bed with until you like get up and leave and come home. So like I try to set up times for us to like, you know, I really try to be intentional in spending time with my partner. I try not to just like be busy every weeknight and like go off and gallivant after I get off of work and come home and be like, hey, how's your day? Also, like my partner currently has been working from home. So she's just at home all day. And then like, I get to see her and I'm like, hey, like I've been around all these people. And she's just like, well, I have not.
Socially deprived.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I was like that all summer where I was not working. And my boyfriend does have very long hours. So I would be at home not doing anything. And then he would come home from his very long day and then be tired, exhausted. Or like on the weekends, he wouldn't want to do anything because he's been tired from the week, which is fine. But then I'm ready to do something. And so it was definitely like navigating it in that way on the opposite end. And it doesn't even have to be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your significant other. It could even be friendships. Like friends could be like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. And you're like, well, I've been busy. And then like, how do you maintain those friendships when you work all day and then you're exhausted on the weekends and it's nothing against your friends, but you don't want to do anything because you're tired, and then you start turning down stuff, then over time, you know, your
friends might just stop asking you to hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a really good perspective to have because I'm talking about from mine, but it's good to hear yours because like.
No, but I'm totally.
Yeah,
I think I've been on shows where you know, you start working, and then the next thing you know, I've you know, in California you can work up to 21 days right before they legally have to let you have a break or whatever. And I've done that like back to back like 3 or 4 times before, and you get in this place where your friends are like, hey, by the way, haven't seen you in 4 months. Like, are you alive? Like, are you around? And you do start to feel like you are neglecting, you know, other parts of your life that are more important than just your job. But I mean, going back to, not to say this is all solved by networking, but going back to that, just being like, I think it's really important when we talk about your network, it's not just like your professional contacts. It's like when you are struggling like this, which happens, you know, especially on really crazy moments, you know, when you're working 21 days in a row. Your friends are the ones that you can go to for advice on stuff like this. You're like, hey, you know, I'm arguing with my girlfriend about how much work I do. How do you set aside time for your date nights? What do you do? How do you talk to your first about getting this time off?
How do you ask for time off?
Yeah. Like, but your friends are the ones who can help you with that stuff and can give you advice about how to manage that. And not to say that like that's your contacts helping you with it, but like when you build those kinds of relationships with people, that's when you build really close friendships that you rely on for the rest of your career.
And I will say, my partner's been incredible and amazing and very understanding of the work-life balance that I've had to juggle, and has been very supportive of my career. And I really appreciate her and I really love her. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for helping me with the newsletter. You're really incredible. And I honestly, and like a big thing too is like, I wouldn't be where I am in my life or my career without my partner. She's been able to help me take care of so many different things outside of work that like I can not like be crazed when I get home. And yeah, she's been great because she also has been making really great relationships with these people in a space that like she doesn't like work in, but she interacts with all the time and she gets it. Like we have these conversations about turnovers and EDLs and AAS, and Bailey's like, like that sucks. And she understands exactly what I'm doing.
I also appreciate Bailey at these events because Bailey sometimes is the voice of reason in a conversation where the rest of us are being brain broken weirdos about the rest of this. And she's like, do you hear what you're saying right now? It's a movie, not brain surgery. Go home.
Which is another great thing to have in a partner who's like, you need to be open to listening first off, but you also need a partner who can call out the BS and like, you need to be open to listening and being willing to like fight for yourself because like they can't do that for you. You know, you have to be the one to do it because like, if you're not putting in the effort, like that's just going to hurt everybody in the end. I will say when I first moved out here, having known nobody except like my roommates, I was just like, what the hell am I supposed to do out here in LA? Like I didn't really have any hobbies. Los Angeles is a really big city, has a lot of stuff going on all the time. Get into climbing. I joined a rec softball league. I did pottery.
You do pickleball.
I do pickleball now.
Pickleball, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think like, even again, to tie it back to networking, you know, one of the things, I mean, this is something that Hank, I remember he yelled at me about this a long time ago because I just would constantly just talk about movies and stuff, you know, when I first started peeing. And he was like, you know, I love Hank, you know, he said something akin basically like, stop being so boring. Go like, go to an art show, go read a book, go like read poetry on a mountaintop, like go do stuff outside of specifically this because it makes you more interesting. It makes you more able to like have interesting ideas and things. And into a broader concept of networking, like everybody does film. Everybody you network with will be an editorial. You all have that in common. That's already a baseline, which is great. But what else do you have in common, right? Like,
what are some interesting things you can tell me that I didn't know before?
Exactly. You know what I did when I first got out here is I took a class on windsurfing.
What?
Did you really?
Yep.
How have you never brought this up?
It never came up because I constantly forget that I did that. I remember I came out here and it was one of those things that I always wanted to do. That and wakeboarding is on my list still. So I took class on windsurfing. It was like 2 days in a row through like UCLA down to Marina Del Rey. And I considered doing it, but the problem is that Marina Del Rey way is far. Yeah. And so I have a little card though that says like I'm certified to like windsurf, but I have not done it since. So
that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just want to build off that really quick. If I was trying to introduce you to somebody, I could say, this is Leanne. She's a great assistant editor. But I could say, this is Leanne. She's a great assistant editor, and she's a windsurfer. That's like a much cooler way for me to introduce you to somebody else.
My biggest thing is that I love doing at these networking events when I try to introduce somebody to like, groups of people. I'm just like, hey, exactly. Like, this is Leanne. I actually never say that you're an assistant editor or whatever. Sure. I'm just like, here's
if you're at that event, you assume that they're an assistant editor, I think.
Or I'm just like, here's a fun fact, because they'll ask anyway. So I'm just like, here's a fun fact about the person I just learned. Yeah. Like, here's my friend Leanne. We just met, but like, she does windsurfing.
Going back though, I think also landing, when I'm waiting to like land my next gig, this is also the time to go back and rebuild your network and meet up with people to get coffee because now you have time.
Guys, it's really also just really important to take care of yourself. Like,
when
was the last time you went to the doctor? Because the last time I went was before I had a job.
So I think like going to the doctor is taking care of yourself, going to the dentist, all that. Yeah. And also checking back in with the people that you like maybe haven't because you have been on a job for months. And it's not like it's not so much of a, hey, I'm now not working. Do you want to get coffee? Yeah. It's like, hey, I've like got some time now and I want to meet up, and you might plug in the fact that you're not working now, but like you still want to, I haven't seen you in a while, haven't talked to you in a while. Like, let's grab coffee. And that's always a good time in between jobs. I'm like constantly like just grabbing coffee with people that I haven't spoken to in a while.
Especially towards the end of jobs too. Like
towards
I
the
heard you
end
said,
too.
the best time to find a new
Top
job
of
is while you're
mind.
on one. But it's like those
Right.
last 2 months of a job, you're going to be calmer. You're not going to have this like pressure that you need to like get employed. But like those last 2 months of a job, you're like, yeah, I'm just wrapping up. Things are great. Like you're going to feel bouncy. You're going to feel chill, and people are going to feel that kind of energy. It's a good time to network with people too.
If you're interested in coming to one of my meetups, I'm not going to plug it on this podcast. The main reason being is we want people to engage with us who really are trying to seek out to be there, but I'll make it easy for you. Just go to my Instagram, which sounds also like a plug for my Instagram.
You can
don't have
plug
to follow
anything you
me.
want. This is your time to plug anything you want.
But just go to my Instagram. It's at Haruka Matata, HARUKAMATATAH. Put it in the show notes if you want. And then just go to the link in my profile. There is a link to sign up for the newsletter. We send it out every 2 weeks. It's a really great community of people who are based in LA, people who are not in LA. We will not be doing events outside of LA, but I encourage you to host them. It's really easy. If you want to know how to host it, let me know. But just come out and like hang out, join the newsletter. It's really great. Amazing community.
Yeah. And you don't have to be part of one of these big networking communities to build your community.
Yeah.
Build it with your friends. Build the network of people
Yeah.
that you came out here with. Find other young, like-minded people like you and build your own little community. I feel like
There's like a couple of groups of like editors, especially. I mean, again, not just editing, like any industry, but like people are like doing climbing groups, hiking groups, biking groups, like
all kinds of things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Find this, and then just between all of us, there's like 5 assistant editors that I know that are like I hesitate to even say network, like my closest editorial friends, and I feel like even outside of our event, like those people are my rock that I might not just for my professional stability, but my emotional stability, and that's a much more important network to me than any professional network that I could possibly have.
I think the other thing that people they'll do an event, right? Or they might invite a few friends to be like, hey, you want to go rock climbing? You want to go grab coffee, whatever it is, and then make it a point to make it an open invitation.
Yeah.
So telling them like, hey, I'm going to get coffee. If you know of anybody that wants to join and get coffee with us, let them know. Let them like come, like making it just like anybody can come to this.
American
thing.
Cinematheque events are a great way to loop in people. Be like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
we're going to go see the
Lawrence of
player.
Arabia.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
Who wants to go? You can get 15 people to go at a drop of a hat to stuff like that.
Yeah.
LA is a city that loves doing stuff.
They love doing stuff.
There's so much cool stuff to do and doesn't have to be expensive. Like there's spaces and places to go do things.
Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of Sips and Clips, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sips and Clips is directed by Haruka Gerald. Produced by Haruka Gerald.
Sips and Clips is a podcast produced by Leanne McFalls and Michael Schusterman. Graphic by Max Schulman. Sound mixing by Cassidy Legan. Sound editing by Zach Griffin. Follow us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.